We're starting off high.
We can get
I
a
think
two fools agree on that one. Oh, by the way, look, we got the wide shot.
There was you had accountability. Now what I can
Now all you need is a podcast and a YouTube channel.
No, not even.
Where give me the money. Show me the money.
Apparently there's a Foolproof page.
Shoot the J. Shoot it. Live on Facebook.com/Foolproof Entertainment Network. I need you on Twitter. I need you to repost the Facebook pages.
To raise a human before I would
Trust human to raise back wolves.
before I would trust a pack of humans to raise a wolf.
Right. I hear you. Yo, what up, fools? Welcome to another edition of Do Fools Agree. As always, I am your host, Michael Reggie, here with my main man, Clifford Jordan Jennings.
That would be me.
That would be you. And
That would be me.
I'll go ahead and apologize now for the voice. As you can tell, it is week one of the high school football season. And I continued my streak of trying to tune them up at halftime, only to have us crumble. So I'm done talking after halftime.
So you can't get a speech anymore?
No, I can't. I'm firing myself. I'm fired. Done.
What y'all look like?
I mean, honestly, the score will look worse than it actually was. So I think it was 51-20 or 51-23. We gave up 2 touchdowns in the fourth just because we were gassed.
Right.
The heat is our kryptonite. I mean, it's true. And honestly, like, I think it affects everyone. This was a good team. Yeah, it affects everyone, but with us in particular, I think it's because, one, we had a mild two-a-days, meaning the weather all two-a-day season was favorable. Like outside of the camp of champions, it was pretty breezy our entire two-a-day session, and so just acclimation to the heat wasn't there. The good news is that at least defensively, I mean, there was a lot of good things tonight. So even though the score says 51-20,
You're right.
There were a lot of good things. Like we had, and also we were playing outside the outer belt with a black team that never goes well.
Right.
So I to put it to you like this in terms of officiating, there were 2 one-hoppers that got called as completions.
So they were remembered in Titans, y'all.
Oh yeah, no, it was bad. And then there was on a kickoff return after they scored the first time. On a KOR, we are clearly down, and they call a fumble. And then on their basically like padded their touchdown that took it from like a 7-point game to a 14-point game, we got called for face guarding like the play before. And face guarding isn't a thing in high school football. Like it is in the pros where you can't like just face guard. But in high school, you're allowed to do whatever as long as you don't make contact. And so, yeah, we got fucked tonight, bad. And we'll clip it out and we'll send it to the OHSAA, and it won't matter because the OHSAA is full of racists too. So,
all right. It's Ohio, baby.
Right. Especially when you get outside that outer belt with a black team, dude.
Listen. They like stay inside the circle where you
right.
get none of that.
No doubt.
It ain't
no
across
doubt.
the tracks no more. Now it's across the highway.
Right. Well, and honestly, there was a lot of good things offensively. I actually thought we played pretty well offensively. We did have mistakes. I mean, we always do, and it was the first week. But the biggest problem was that heat in the first quarter, man. We spotted them like 23 points in the first quarter, and we came back. It was a 7-point game at one point.
Right.
After that, like we were down 23-0, And at one point, I think it was like 20 to 27, maybe. Like, it was... There was good things to be had. Defensively, the good news was we got to where we needed to get to.
Right.
We just couldn't tackle, man. We can't bring our feet. We play too high. And
I mean, it's the first game too.
it is. And that was the team we played is one of the 3 toughest teams on our schedule.
Well, that's good to come out the gates like that.
Right. I mean, we got Northland next week. I'm not saying that'll be easy. Northland is very cyclical. Like, they'll be great one year, and then they'll be down for 2. And I don't... Based on the fact that they were our only win last year, I think. Maybe,
really?
They may have been our only win last year. Or maybe we had 2 wins. I can't remember.
They're going to be coming for you.
It does, yeah. That's the thing. I can't judge. Like, they had 2 years ago, it was I guess it was 3 years ago, was one of the best games that we had all season. Like, it ended up being like a 3-point ball game. They had 2 brothers that were both going Division I at quarterback and receiver. Like,
right.
Last year and the year before, I think they were pretty trash.
Listen, they coming.
We'll see. It is time for them to have an up year. So,
because if they coach is good at their halftime speech, he gonna say these spoiled motherfuckers only won 1 game last year. Who you think that was against?
You're not wrong.
Now get out there and hit them so hard they motherfucking mama's feeling.
Man, how you been, man? How's your week been?
That's all right? A good question.
You don't even know.
That's a good question. I think I've just been in autopilot for real.
Yeah, I get that.
Because once again, it's not a week where I can say it's been a good or a bad week. It's just another week completed. You know what I mean?
You advance to the next level.
Right.
It's the same one.
right. I actually had a conversation with my big boss about that the other day. And I said, I just feel like I'm stuck under a tire, G, because it's just not getting right.
Yeah.
It's just a constant cycle
is it that it's like too repetitive? There's not.
It's not even repetitive. What it is for the specific work that I do and the specific client I have, they're like, what's a good analogy for them? They're like the girlfriend who's never satisfied, right? I mean, with my, I don't know any other way to put it, right?
I mean, because, trust me, I get that.
I don't know any other way to put it, right? Because it's like,
oh shit.
It's like, of course, with our work, especially because it's third party, right? So we give you terms that you agree to at the beginning of every year. And for some reason, this is the only client out of like 300 others that you allow to make changes to the agreement throughout the year.
They're one of your bread makers. They're one of your money makers for the business.
I would imagine, or I would definitely imagine so. Right.
Generally, the only people that you change the rules for are the ones that are bringing in the most money. Usually, it's your top 10 to maybe 20% of your money makers that you're willing to do that kind of shit for.
Well, here's the thing, because they have a reputation of that. There's a lot of people that are qualified for the position that aren't actually qualified for the position.
I hear what you're saying.
So it's a cycle in a sense of we'll get one person that's fit for the job that'll get everything, moving like a fine oiled machine, and then they'll leave or be promoted, and then you'll bring someone else in who's a shit show that fucks it back up to where we need that other person to come in and fix it for you to only 6 months later give us someone else to fuck it up.
That is, oh fuck, what was her name? The Turkey Hill over on Nelson.
Uh-huh.
There's a cute white girl, redhead. I think she was about my age, probably a little older. That she would come back like every 6 months, and she was a manager, and she would keep coming back because it was to clean shit up, like to clean up the store and all that. And I get exactly what you're saying.
And I feel like that's another reason why they won't let me do too much else, because it's like, nah, you got the perfect guy to manage all this there, leave him there.
Yeah.
And I'm not about to keep doing that.
Right.
And that was basically the conversation, is I'm not about to keep doing that. So either something else opens up or you change something.
I mean, really what you do at that point is you look for a lateral move, like just to change things up. And honestly, companies that let you move around laterally generally are better to work for, because you get that breadth of experience and then it opens up other possibilities.
They wouldn't let me do that anyway.
No.
Nah.
Well, damn.
They would let you do lateral moves, but that situation for me is almost a redundancy, because it's like he's already a perfect fit here.
Right.
We're only going to let him go if he's moving up somewhere else.
Yeah.
We're not going to move him to the same position somewhere else because he's already doing the most for us here.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you have said that you don't want to move up, right? Or at least at different points you have.
I've said that I only want to move up.
Okay.
With specific
things in mind. No, I get that. I mean,
and I had that same conversation as well. Like, I'm not the guy that's going to be clocking in at 7:30 in the morning and stay until 7:30 at night just because my workload is heavy.
Right.
Like, I don't have that to offer you. So if somebody else is willing to do that, far be it for me to step in to take their position. You know what I mean? I'm not that guy. I'll stay here until something else fits me more.
Right. No, I get that, man. Like, I will say, and I don't know what the situation or what your situation is on this front, but I actually found that I started moving up when I started saying no to shit. Like, no, like that's not what you're paying me for. I'm not doing it. And so I do think that having conversations like that, I think it's important, because it shows management, like, no, I know what I want. Either give me what I want or I'll find somewhere else.
Right.
So I get
you know what? I think that strategy would work elsewhere more than it would work where I'm at.
I hear you. Like I said, I don't know your situation. I just know, like, for me personally, that's what it's been like.
Because if I'm thinking of another analogy for a situation like that, I feel like we have the cartel as opposed to the army.
I got you.
We'll throw as many people at it as we can until the situation is no longer here, and we don't care how many people we lose until that job gets done.
You're running classical warfare, like line up in rows and lines, and shoot and have the next guy step forward.
Where I'm more special ops, like, nah, let's just get the right people to get this done the first fucking time.
If you do it the right way, you need less people.
Right. And they don't seem to get that.
And that's the thing, like, and it's actually the reason why you're seeing the rise of, like, machine learning and automation and all that stuff that will continue to destroy rural America. You need, if you do it right, you don't need as many people, period.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because that leads me to an inadvertent thought that I had.
All right, roll with it.
Elon Musk has to be the dumbest, smartest motherfucker I know in my life.
Say more.
The dumbest, smartest motherfucker I have ever come across in the history. It's not the hero that we want, but it's the hero that we deserve. You hear what I'm saying? Because that motherfucker is stupid as hell. So I just saw the Tesla AI automated joint.
Yeah.
You seen that the Autobot?
No, it's called the Autobot.
It's called some kind of bot, but he's dumb for. I'm gonna say there's two very clear reasons why this motherfucker is stupid, right? One being, I recall this man like 2-3 years ago saying that the rise of the robot will become the downfall of the human man.
Right.
So if you said that, right?
Why are you naming your shit?
why are you even getting involved in the line of work, right?
Because he wants to be the harbinger.
Right. Right. So he says it in his little shit, like he's, giving the speech about what's coming out, his old dumbass, smart, nonsense of humor having ass. Well, it'll be nice. Number one. That's number one. Number two, I feel like he'd be able to overpower it. It's only gonna be 125 pounds and can only move 5 miles per hour. So if you can run faster than 5 miles per hour, you can get away from it. It can only lift up to 45 pounds. So I don't think that it'd you'd have a difficult time overpowering it. So he goes into saying this. So my goal is that for people that may want to go pick up groceries or may have a job that they need to complete that they can't complete themselves, they can send the bot to do this job for them, right? Now goes along to say, eventually I would see it to where people would never have to work again and could just send their bots. Okay, Elon.
I mean,
if
we're not in a capitalistic society, that's not a bad thing.
Well, wait. See, that strikes me as the worst thing. Because what you're doing is you're recruiting an automated slave with free thinking that operates on its own regard.
So I'm going to jump in here. That is the entire plot and principle of the Mass Effect games. The Mass Effect games, the antagonizing force is a robotic entity known as the Reapers that when galactic civilization reaches a certain point, they basically come in, wipe everyone out, harvest all of the knowledge, and then disappear for 50,000 years. The reason they were created was because organic life creates synthetic life. At some point, there is conflict, and one tries to wipe the other out.
Right.
And so in order to, quote unquote, stop the conflict, someone along the way created these Reapers that comes in, wipes everybody out that's advanced civilization, and it basically starts over at a lower form of evolution going forward. Like that doesn't
necessarily seem.
But it's the same principle, because I think that's what you're getting at. You're going to create
a
robot slave that eventually will rise up and try to destroy us. And
right. Because see, here's my whole thing: this is what people are like. Us as humans are so fucking arrogant, right? That we run backwards naked from the bottom half through a cornfield and wonder why our asshole hurts. You know what I mean? Like, so my thing is, regardless if you're only 125 pounds, you can only lift.
Did you know if you get a sleeper hold,
your asshole, you wake up, what do you say? You wake up the next day, your asshole
really hurts.
Oh man, it's you know what? That it's a mad real world, G. But I'm saying, like, it doesn't matter if this specific thing can't overpower you, right? Essentially, what you're saying is to all the lazy motherfuckers and the motherfuckers who may not be lazy and may be disabled but may need assistance, get you one of these robots and make it slave away for you. And, you know, there's no way that it can really take you out because it's not built for that. But, my G, you're giving it the power to learn and do all this on its own. So even if it knows I'm not going to be the one to fuck you up, I'm not built for that.
Right.
I can build somebody to fuck you up, though. Oh, you think I'm at the store picking up your Starbucks, white lady? Nah, I'm off with the homies that we met up with on the block, trying to figure out how to bring y'all's dumbasses down.
I mean, we tried to be congenial about this.
Right.
But we reserve the right to fuck you up.
Right. Have you been watching that? That's fresh on the mind.
I've been watching that and South Park because it's the only thing that's making me laugh and smile right now. Other than this conversation.
Man. I just don't fucking get it. Like, I think it's a mixture. It's a perfect recipe of stupidity and arrogance.
Well, no, I mean, even if it isn't straight up destroying us, it will take away a large percentage of the population's desire to improve, desire to get better, it's the Wall-E thing, right? It's the Wall-E thing with the axiom and everybody just gets fat and sits in their hover chairs.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I actually had another inadvertent thought. And I know that this is most likely going to ruffle a lot of feathers.
These are my favorite.
But I don't think that for us, at least, like our species, I guess you could say, the human race, that world peace would ever be beneficial for anyone.
Not in a capitalistic society.
You think it could work in a different way?
I do.
And see it may be we may be thinking on two different pages, right? Because the whole reason why I say that is because what I think is happening currently is the government is attempting to take away our natural animal instincts.
Okay.
The government is trying to distance us as far as it can from our ancestors that, you know, ran the earth, living outside, having to hide from bigger animals and hunting for their food, right? Yeah. Because at that point, there was always a sense of shit could go left real quick. I have to be on my toes. I have to keep my alerts. I have to be aware.
This is your whole kick the feet off the table kind of thing.
It is because I feel like us coming into this PC culture. Mm-hmm. See, this is what people don't understand is we can be as PC as we like with our words,
right?
With the way we speak to people. But all that does is gives us a false sense of comfort that is the way it is in the actual world. And in the actual world, if we did come to a point of ever getting to world peace, there would still be people in this world that prey on other people's comfort.
Yep.
The fact that you're comfortable and you think that it is peaceful, I'm going to take advantage of that by A or B or C. And in this whole lockdown, staying in your house takes away some of you being aware from being outside and in the environment. And I think that's why you're seeing an increase of people getting killed, people getting snatched, sex trafficking, children trafficking, all of that, because we're not on our toes anymore.
No,
we've been too far from that regular.
Well, and there's no, it's, what is it? It's American Sniper. American Sniper, there is a great quote in there. And it's a father talking to his son, and it is, there are three types of people in the world. There are sheep, there are wolves, and there are sheepdogs. And the father is saying to his son, I didn't raise no sheep. And if you're a wolf, I'll put you down.
Right.
And the whole message there, there's no one is, we as a society have lost the sheepdogs. There are no guardians. There are no knights in shining armor, I guess. There is, and it goes back to our earlier conversations around there's no leaders. There's no leadership. There's no voice. There's no, we don't have the philosopher kings. We don't have the, the people, the community leaders. Like, I actually saw you posted something, and I think it was Charlemagne talking to somebody. And it was the whole...
Dr. Umar Johnson.
Yes, exactly. And he was talking about how, the government has systematically eliminated or targeted the black families by eliminating black wealth, by targeting the men, by doing all of that to basically destroy black families, because they know that the power of the Black Power movement was black families, was educated, charismatic black families.
Right.
And there are no leaders anymore. Like there aren't big voices out there that are trying to do the right thing. Instead, we've got people, to your earlier point, like Elon Musk, like Jeff Bezos, like Bill Gates. I'll actually, like I've said in the past, I'll actually give him a little bit of credit, because I do
he's
think
the devil too.
I'm not saying he's not, but he is at least trying to do good, but it's his version of good.
Oh, so, he's the devil.
I hear you, and we've had the conversation. If you have more than $500 million, you got to give us a reason to keep you alive, or we take your shit.
And I don't think you're doing enough with your so-called calling yourself doing good.
But what I'm saying is, that's the point, though. Like Warren Buffett might be like one of the few that you could get behind, because he's the one saying, do these things, tax the rich, tax this.
He's the closest.
He's probably the closest, but... And
isn't he the one that always, well, not always, but has on multiple occasions given up half his wealth to different charities and shit? And then, like we said in the past, I'm not saying that those charities are actually doing what they need to do to help the people intended, but just the fact that you would be willing to part with that much money lets me know that you're not just one of them.
Right.
Oh, don't get it twisted. You are still a devil as well.
You are,
but you're not just
you are still
one
a them. You are still a them.
You're a devil. You're a devil.
Yeah.
Ain't no them. I'm not going to be that politically correct.
I come back to, like, I don't know. It would be great if we had billionaires that were actually trying to do good. Like, there's no reason, and I think I've said this before, there's no reason people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos aren't solving climate change, aren't solving water issues, aren't solving the food issues. Like, if we were putting that kind of R&D and that kind of money into those types of issues, they cease to exist.
Right.
It's a choice. And when you talk about, like, when we've talked about Elon and Bezos in particular, I think their goal in their mind is either legacy or it is immortality. And
clearly.
Guess what? We ain't to immortality yet. So if you want legacy, do something that changes things for the better. Don't quit fucking spending money on going to space. Quit fucking, like, I don't know.
That's why you all fall into the devil category with me, just them a little bit more so than the rest. That's a little dick competition.
That's exactly what it is. And is it Bezos's ship that looks like a dick?
I know it is one of them, and it's ironic, right? Because the guy with the little dick ends up building the biggest,
right,
that the world's ever seen, and flew to the edge of the atmosphere and tried to trick us to say he was in space.
Right, tried to say.
But your dick's not that big. But your dick's not that big.
Maybe if your ship was 3 inches longer, you'd be all right.
right. You can't fuck that atmosphere, bitch. Your dick's not that big. Oh, meanwhile, We got veterans that fought and sacrificed for their country, dying in the streets of hunger and homelessness. Yet you want to fly your little dick ass to the edge of the atmosphere just to say you did it.
Right. That's where we're at.
Listen,
man.
It's just crazy, G. But yeah, I mean, to that sense, I feel like it's definitely, it's not, this is a choreographed strike, right? This isn't just one attack. This is multiple attacks to each, what do I want to call it? Vulnerable spot of society. And I feel like while everyone was so focused on the immune system being, reduced from not getting your vitamin D from sunlight, let's cut to the real issue, right? The real issue is that everybody's walking around fucking clueless because they haven't been outside in a while.
Right.
And now the motherfuckers who never left outside is taking advantage of the fact that you're different.
Right. I don't disagree with you.
I stayed outside. This is all I have. I can't do anything but this. This is how I survive. So nothing changed for me. And I'm not saying me specifically, but that person.
Yeah.
Your bitch ass chose to stay inside and do all that and forget about what actually goes on when you're out here. So when you step back out here without checking your six and keeping your head on a swivel, I see that you're an easy mark for me.
Right.
And we have a whole bunch of marks walking around at the moment because of the current situation that we're in.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that completely makes sense. Like if you spent a year and a half or a year plus, in basically hiding.
Right.
When you back into the wild, like there's a reason why zoos and places that rehabilitate animals don't release them after a certain amount of time.
Right.
Because it's a death sentence.
Right. They won't fight for themselves anymore.
Right.
And then it's those one animals that they end up putting down because no matter how long you keep them in a cage, anybody that comes close to that motherfucker, I'm going to try to kill.
Right.
I'm taking that arm off. You bring that bitch in here. You stick that meat pole in here too far, and I'm going to bring your ass halfway in here with me.
See, we're talking about Bezos's dick and meat poles. There you go.
Listen.
Oh, man.
But yeah, no, that I feel like that's definitely what I see happening currently.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I couldn't see world peace ever being a thing, because this is a small scale version. But if the entire world was under the impression that there was no worry or care, well, on a national or global level, then you start to get a lot more comfortable than you were before. And the motherfuckers who have always been outside are like, Well,
I mean, let's face it. That's what January 6th was.
What's January 6th?
The insurrection. The Capitol.
You think?
Yeah. Because who acted like they weren't afraid of anything? Who never listened to the rules around COVID? The same motherfuckers that stormed the Capitol. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's what you're getting at is that's a extreme version of it. But is it? I mean, I think that's exactly what you're talking about. I don't know. You had a demagogue that came up and raised a pack of wolves by saying, "Oh, this isn't real. Don't believe what you're told." Gaslighting everything, and then those are the people that attempted to overthrow our government.
But who was it that took advantage of them?
Did anybody?
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm trying to connect the two, because in my
I am saying we as a country fell asleep and were the sheep that got too comfortable, and those were the wolves that came knocking on the door.
No, that wasn't it. I mean, I see where you're getting at, but no, I say no, that wasn't it, because
how is that not it?
Because just because you denied COVID doesn't mean you were ever outside in the same sense. When I say we stayed outside, I'm speaking of a specific group of people who could not afford to let COVID stop them from surviving.
But that's who those people are. That's what I'm saying, though. Those were your for the most, and I'm not saying everybody, but like for the most part, that was rural America that said, we can't lock ourselves away. We will be buried by this. We're going to keep doing what we need to do to survive. And I know you're thinking about it probably more from the game and the hood step. It's the same way, though, man. It's the same thing, just from a different end.
See, the whole reason why I guess it's not connecting to me is because I have more respect for someone that has to do what they have to do to survive, right?
Yeah.
And that insurrection, even if you pulled it off, what you were gonna bring Trump into office, that nothing is on the table for you to lose your life if you don't accomplish your goal.
All right.
So I kind of looked at it like, well, doesn't know what it really was. I feel like it was a bunch of spoiled motherfuckers who took advantage of a situation where the world was asleep for a moment.
Yeah.
But that's not the same as the child that falls into the tiger den or the woman that falls into the tiger den. That's completely different.
Okay.
Because you weren't on your P's and Q's. You weren't paying attention enough and you fell over that rail. Oh, and now you're in a situation where you're like, how the fuck did I get here? Well, you got here because you didn't have your head on a swivel, because you weren't paying attention to your surroundings. And now you have a real life fucking situation on your hands.
Yeah.
I think both sides were ignorant in that situation. I think the United States government and the people inside of the Capitol building were ignorant to the fact that they didn't think something like that could happen.
Yeah. I'll be curious. I'll be curious to see the next election. Like, what does security look like? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think we see any changes.
Listen,
how many motherfucking police officers have committed suicide since that Capitol riot? 6, I think.
Is that what it is?
6 different officers have committed suicide, and I think one was killed. One was killed, but they were questioning like how he was killed or something like that.
Gotcha.
Well, no. I don't think he was killed. I think it was a situation where they said it was like cardiac arrest, but they're questioning if that was, actually the case or cause of death type shit.
Gotcha. Maybe it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So, of course, the conspiracy going around is that these motherfuckers have been suicided or deaths have been staged to prevent information from getting out of there.
I mean, let's face it. That's the way our government operates. Whether they want to talk about it or not, there's a reason why Epstein didn't make it. There's a reason why, they are. I am sure Trump's people are still targeting cops in terms of the people that they had on the inside. Like, you are eliminating them from being able to talk.
Right. Get rid of all the loose ends.
Mm-hmm. And then try.
And those would be the biggest loose ends. You know what I mean? You ask a motherfucker, right? You come to him on some government coup type shit. Like, we're about to overthrow this bitch. And then you see the motherfuckers, even the ones that look at you sideways before they say, coup, I'm down.
Yeah.
I got to get rid of you.
Yep.
Even if you agreed, but it took you a couple of too many seconds, I got to get rid of you now. You're a loose end. I can't afford anybody.
The one that will get me forever is the dude who opened the barricade. Now, not saying they couldn't have gone around or gone through the barricade anyways, but dude literally opened the barricade.
And I mean, at the same time, I get that too, you know what I mean? Because let's be honest, a lot of the motherfuckers don't get paid enough.
No.
They don't get paid enough. So if I was in the situation, I can't say that I'm about to die for the fucking government that I can't say isn't behind this shit in the first place. Like, y'all play too many games. And when you play games like that, you never get legit soldiers.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what it is they're fighting for.
Right.
Because you play both sides.
Absolutely.
I don't have the luxury to be able to do so. So usually I fight for my convictions, but I don't know which side you fall on. So I don't know if I can rock with you that way.
Yeah.
which is why you end up having to ask people that aren't involved in your inner circle, and you put yourself out there for situations like this. Because let's keep it a buck. In the right hands, and I don't mean right literally, I really mean left. In the left hands, the right motherfuckers could be charged for treason.
Right.
And we all know that's the offense punishable by death.
Right. Absolutely.
So how many motherfuckers that were involved in that shit aren't willing to even face that consequence? I'm not even going to take the chance of facing that consequence. Matter of fact, they're the motherfuckers that helped us too.
Right, because they're not going to go after somebody that's dead for treason.
Right.
Well,
they're the motherfuckers that helped us and adjust the evidence to where it looks like they acted alone.
Right. Well, and I think the other side of it too, like what has been the one thing that takes down every mafia, mob, whatever family? It's those
Rico. I don't know.
What I'm saying is, it is always the weak one. It is the weak one that you let into the circle that you never should have.
But see, here's the thing. Shit. We're talking about the United States government, right? We're not talking about the Marines, the SEALs.
Right.
We're not even talking about the Cuban government, right?
Right.
They what tie do they have to not play both sides?
Yeah.
Like in this specific country, and I understand that's because when you give somebody the, and I won't even say ultimate, because the freedom in the United States has never been ultimate, but when you give someone that much freedom, you give them the opportunity to side one way or the other.
Well, you do give them the choice, right?
Right.
And that is the, I don't want to say
very few people. All I'm getting at is very few people choose both sides.
Right.
Well, you know what I mean? On the ground level.
But at the end of the day, that's the problem, though, is that it is because it is only two sides, right? Like, for democracy to actually be effective, and the founding fathers talked about this. When we got when the founding fathers did established the country, George Washington is quoted, I think, as saying, "A two-party system will be the death of this country." Because if you only have two views, or if you only have two parties or two options, those options are going to push to the extremes, or they will center.
Right.
But you're going to be at one end of the spectrum versus if you have multiple parties and you're doing
it's usually more balanced.
I forget what it's called, but there's basically a version of voting in democracy where it's rank order. It's rank order voting, where you pick your first, second, third, and fourth candidate, and what they do is they keep going down the list and eliminating your highest one with the lowest numbers,
right?
Until they're left with, one. And in my mind, that is a much better system than a two-party system. But we have no desire to move away from a two-party system, and so we are intentionally breeding our own conflict and our own demise. Honestly,
I mean, but that's by design.
I'm not saying it's not.
Because there's no money in everyone agreeing.
I take that back. It is by design, because I think the intent there is to move towards, to your point, move towards the center so that you're never actually advancing. Whereas if you're on one side or the other, there's a chance for change. There's a chance for advance. I mean, that's why we have Biden right now. He was the most centrist person that they could pick, that you wouldn't have to risk left versus right. You put it in the center. And that was actually the downfall with Hillary, was that, one, people didn't like her. Like, she was not well liked as a politician. And two, and maybe it was just because she was a woman, I don't know, she was a little too far one way, but not far enough to rally the base. And so we ended up with Trump.
I don't know.
Because people wanted a change. People wanted something different. And we got it. And I don't think it was for the better. There are people that still believe that he's president. So,
I mean, once again, that's a game that doesn't really concern me.
No, I know.
So I don't really I don't get too involved in that anyway, because I feel like that's just politics is just a stepchild to blame your issues on.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
You know what I mean? Like, the issues are deeper.
It gives you a scapegoat.
Right, and politics are the closest thing for you to blame the reason why things aren't the way they are on.
Right.
And then a lot of times they play a part, but it's far beyond that.
No, I mean,
it's far beyond just politics that lead us down the paths that we're on. A lot of times it's the consensus of the people, but they may not say it or feel comfortable saying it.
Right.
So you have the 10 men in that dark room come up with the next global or national decision for the better of the people that most won't agree with or do agree with, but won't speak,
Yeah.
The whole John Cena shit in Suicide Squad 2.
Yep.
That is our government.
No, completely agree.
You're evil, right? You're evil, but you try to dress it up in a way that you're doing what you have to do to maintain the integrity of the G. You don't gotta be grown to a full-blown boomer to notice that that's not how shit works.
Right.
We know that. But I mean, that's where we are. Like, once they give us enough to let our guards down, we start saying, all right, I guess they're right.
I guess that works.
Right. I guess they have our best interest at heart.
we all know they don't.
Listen, I don't know if we can say we all, but
Fair point. No, I mean, we've talked about it. It's, anybody that goes into politics has a lust for power. Because, again, there are no philosopher kings. And maybe the closest to that is someone like Bernie, but I don't know.
But even still, right? Because you got to think
there's a reason why he's been able to be in politics for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years.
Oh, no, I definitely, especially with, like, the strong stances that he takes.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like there's also we get what we deserve, right?
Yeah.
That's just it. We get what we deserve. And I honestly think
not what we need, but definitely what we deserve.
Right. Right. And that comes from our actions as a whole as well. Because we are the tide. The citizens of the country we are the tide, right?
Yeah.
You have to adjust your moves based on us. We are the wave. We are the one that will bring you out to sea if shit doesn't go right. We're the one that will create a tsunami and rain down on your homes if shit doesn't go right. But the fact that our waters are so still at the moment makes them feel like they can sail further and further into our area. And it's not going to be until you sail into that Bermuda Triangle and something comes up and you don't hear from that ship again. And they say, you know what? Let's avoid this area.
Right.
And right now, in the current position that they have us in, they're trying to take away our rapid waters. How do we do that? Let's keep them inside. Let's take away their urge to fight or their ability to see it's necessary to. And now we're just in a boat where the motherfucking media is pitting you against each other, whether it be for a vaccination, your political views, your race, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Your sexual agenda, what you believe in, your identity, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We give them too many opportunities to see us riled up to where they know we'll just throw that out there and let them
we know what
fight over it like piranhas.
Yep. You're not wrong there.
And motherfuckers just fall for it every time. And that's to the point where it's like, you know what? And I hate to say it, but I'm losing sympathy for the sad story.
Oh, I'm.
It's like, not you was dumb, G. I'm on to the next. Or not, you wasn't doing what you was supposed to. I don't really care that happened to you.
Well, it's on that end. It is personal accountability, like, and personal protection. Honestly, like, you've got to be able to stand up for and defend yourself. And if you are coddled and told you're special, like, this is where we keep going as a society, and it is, we are overprotecting people, to your point, where they are unable or unwilling to defend themselves.
Right.
And what they do is cry about it, and they
right.
whine.
No more bite. No more growl or roar or nothing about that to us.
Well, and I mean, it's funny because we've had this discussion a fair amount over the last couple of years as with my coaching buddies. The amount that kids are willing to run their mouths at each other, but not get physical, it's because they're all cowards. Because no one actually knows how to, like,
even the gunplay.
Right.
Even the gunplay. It's easier for me to pull a trigger than to ever have to get my hands dirty getting close to you.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Like, I don't understand. I want you to smell my motherfucking breath.
Right.
I want you to know who did this. So you know next time. I don't know about that. Or I want you looking for me specifically.
Down. Right.
I want you hunting me down type shit because I'm going to do you bad. I'm going to do you bad. Just because, right? Just because you picked the right one and you thought that this was that. This isn't that. I don't know if you thought, because it's so crazy how we just start to equate things based on what the media says, right? Because I've noticed, like, you know what I'm saying, even with the whole anti-mask situation, and now that it's loosened up and it's starting to get like more strict back up.
Yeah, they're reinforcing now.
You start to see people look at you with that Alabama, Florida eye, where it's like, oh, you're wearing a mask now? Oh, what is it? Are you scared? Are you soft? Are you, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's a way for someone to think that they can impose their views on you.
Yeah.
All the, I'm vaccinated, why aren't you? Well, that's none of your fucking business, right? You're vaccinated. Cookies in the oven. Yeah. What I do is none of your fucking business, right? You're vaccinated.
Well, and at this point,
shut the fuck up.
Right. I'm with you, and that's something Luke and I talked about a fair amount. Like, guess what? I know the recommendation right now is to wear the mask, even if you're vaccinated. I'm like, no, I followed the rules. I got vaccinated. Like, shut the fuck up.
Right. I get it. I get it 100%.
I mean, obviously, if it's required, fine. Like, there are places where it's required, and that's fine. But if it's, like, I don't know. Like Speedway. Speedway got the big sign on the door that says, the CDC recommendation is masks, and I'm like, nah.
Speedway never enforced masks from the beginning. Listen,
I know they didn't.
You can't enforce masks in certain places.
No. And Whitehall is one of them.
Listen,
and
it's too much bullshit.
Some people would benefit from wearing a mask in Whitehall, even without
you hear me?
COVID.
It's some people that I've seen like that motherfucker should be wearing a mask. I don't care about the COVID.
Is those teeth you're missing.
Listen, spare me the visuals, motherfucker. Right. Put that mask on. But it goes back to my in it Bert, because I feel like, isn't that an odd hill to die on?
Yeah.
Mask or unmasked. I'm upset. You're vaxxed or anti-vax. I'm upset. Like, that is a very spoiled thing to get upset about.
No, and to your earlier point, is that just another means of control? Like, if they're focused on worrying about that, they're not. It's the whole real fight over here, fake fight over, or fake
Right.
fight over here, real fight over here.
Right. Like, I just don't fucking get it. Like, it's just odd to me. Like all the other issues that we are currently dealing with as a whole.
And we're putting
that's the hill. That's the hill you want to fight on.
Right.
That mask,
Like,
anti-mask
there's some other
shit.
shit going on. You know, maybe we should focus on that.
I just don't get it.
Let people have the choice about the fact whether they got vaccinated or not. Like,
I don't get it. You know, I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, I would think at some point a motherfucker would just be like, what the fuck is all of this about?
Right.
Like,
Guess
we're
what?
still dealing with this, and this, and what is all of this about?
Trying to move it back towards lockdowns, man. I don't know.
Listen, and I see it the same way I said before. Who?
Right.
Lockdown who?
Right.
I don't lock down.
I mean,
I don't care if
I
there's
locked
a
down
curfew.
voluntarily most of my life, so.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I like to be alone myself, but like we've had as conversations on this podcast so much in the past, I don't abide by your laws because I agree with them. I abide by them because they align with my morality.
Yep.
But I don't live by any rule another man made. That's not my rule.
Right.
Some say I won't go there, but that's not my rule.
Right.
That's your rule or that's their rule. And if you'd like to abide by it, go ahead.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Me, no man will ever tell me when, where, or how I do something unless it's a prison guard. Period. I don't know one strong enough for me to be all curled up like, no, I guess he said I can't, so I won't. Man, fuck you.
I get that.
Fuck you and your rules.
I get that.
You didn't make that with for me and mine.
No.
And I know you didn't
not.
because I may have a screw loose. So were you thinking about the people that are just slightly off kilter when you made this rule? I don't think you were. So I don't plan on following it. That's how I feel about it. So lockdown, whatever the case may be, you can try to pull the wool on. Ain't that some shit? How you pull the wool over sheep's eyes? Don't it kind of just grow that way, I guess?
Right. That's why you have to shear them.
Yeah, maybe that's the issue. They're not pulling nothing over our eyes. They just threw away all the shears.
Right. Well, that's actually a good point.
You know? And and to your point about the American Sniper shit, wolf dogs and wolves, the more we grow fur, the warmer we are in the winter. But there's no real downside. There's no real downside to a lack of grooming. A sheep you have to take care of.
Right.
A sheep has to be taken care of.
And protected.
A wolf, right, and a wolf dog can survive on their own.
Yep.
Regardless of rule, regardless of climate, regardless of anything. So when somebody says lock yourself in that house and don't get no sunlight or any sort of vitamins, and that's for y'all. That's your master saying they're not gonna shear your wool.
Yeah. That's
not my guy. I don't care if it's a president. I don't care if it's a pastor. I don't care who. That's not mine. Because any big dog out there in the world knows I'm the only king. I am the only king. Now, I may just be in my circle of current life, but I am only king around here.
No, I mean, that is the comment I made earlier around personal accountability. Like, you have to be master of your own domain, and if you're not, you're in the wrong situation, and you need to fight to change it.
Right. Listen, I don't know.
And again, that's that point right there is That's where I'm at in my life right now. So
Listen, I get it. Hold on, real quick.
All right. Man, he gonna leave me hanging, and I don't even have a TV show to talk about. Well, the Bad Batch wrapped up. I'm glad you came back quick because I don't have something to talk about.
You know,
There's no Loki. There's no the What If series isn't bad, but it's cartoon.
what's that? What If?
What If is the new Marvel series. It's a cartoon, but it basically says like if events unfolded differently.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's actually
Is it like Marvel shit?
Yeah. So the first one the first one they did was if Peggy Carter became Captain America. Basically, if Peggy Carter took the Super
I did
Soldier
see that.
Serum.
I just didn't know that's what it was called.
Yeah, and then the other one was what if it was T'Challa that got basically became Star-Lord?
Who's Star-Lord?
Yeah,
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes, yep. Became Peter
And what
Quill.
is T'Challa? Who's that?
T'Challa is Black Panther.
I said T'Challa. Or T'Challa. I don't know what the fuck I said.
But basically, if what's his name, Yondu had picked up T'Challa instead of
Who in the fuck is Yondu?
Yondu's the blue dude, played by the guy from Walking Dead, Merle. I'm trying to
The guy
remember his
who
name.
gets that. Oh no, he was red, wasn't he?
Yeah, no. He's blue he's the one that has the whistle. He whistles and the spear or whatever flies through and like kills people. It basically responds to him whistling. He's a main
Not
character.
the dude with the diamond in his head. Oh
No,
no, in
that's
Guardians
Vision.
of the Galaxy.
In Guardians, yeah. The guy that basically he's the head of the Ravagers or head of the Ravager clique that Peter Quill or Chris, what's his name? Chris.
Was he in the first one or the second one? The first one?
He was in both. He was a bigger character in the second one.
Because what you're saying, it sounds familiar.
The one that floated down is like, I'm Mary Poppins, bitch.
No, I don't remember.
You're gonna have to
but I do
rewatch
remember
Guardians.
that the whistling and the spear.
Yeah.
I just can't see who's doing it.
Well, and again, it's the dude, the older Daryl's brother from Walking Dead. Merle from Walking Dead. I can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head.
And he has like a horn.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yep, I know exactly who you're talking about.
But so that one, I honestly I was doing stuff while that one was on. So
what if he was Star-Lord? Is what they're saying?
No, but what if he picked up T'Challa instead of Peter Quill? So basically, if T'Challa was a Guardians of the Galaxy or a Guardian of the Galaxy kind of deal.
And I know, okay, I'm sorry. Who is T'Challa again?
T'Challa's Black Panther.
Okay.
So that one, again, I didn't watch it closely enough. I was messing with other shit, just dealing with other shit, but
right. Okay. Yeah, no, but I have heard of that. I've heard of it. I just, that it's not anything where my mind shuts off. No, it most likely something where my mind shuts off.
Well, like I said, even mine shut off, and I like that kind of shit. So,
well, I'm saying even when I see like trailers or previews, like if it doesn't immediately apply,
yeah,
it's almost like it goes silent.
Yeah, I get it.
Listen, I mastered the art of tuning shit out in my youth.
I wish I did, man.
Mastered the art of tuning shit out. So it's a situation now where it only takes me that much time
to just
to realize, right? To realize, am I interested in this or no? No, I'm out.
Next.
And I won't walk away either. You'll continue your story. And then if at some point in the story you captured my attention,
you'll tune back in.
I'll say, okay, I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Start that over, please. Run it from the top.
Son of a
now
bitch.
What's happening?
You've done that to me.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Isn't that half the podcast?
I'm sure we've done. Listen, I'm sure that's happened as well, and that's because at this point it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
To where even though we're in the podcast, if you say something and I tune out, and I'm like, I have to, like.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
Bring my like you're in the podcast, bro. Come back. Like, oh, okay. Run it back real quick. What was that you said?
Don't get me wrong, my man. I do the same shit to you.
Well, I'm sure.
There was at least once during this episode. My man.
But that's understandable though, because the conversations, or at least a lot of the conversations we had this episode, we've had
it's
5 times over.
Right.
So at that point, it's not even about you cutting out. It's about your mind saying, "Oh, I'm comfortable here. We don't really have to be engaged. We got all the information.
We know the talk tracks here.
Right.
How do I? That's actually usually what happens. I'm like, all right, so we've had this talk before. How do I frame it differently?
Right. And that's come across as well. But I'm just saying for the viewers out there, most of the time, for me, it's
not everybody has listened to every
subconsciously cut off.
Yeah. And what I'll say is not everybody has listened to every episode.
No, that's right. That's the truth.
So it's not a bad thing to rehash stuff.
Listen, that's the truth. And especially in a situation like this, G, because I see it being the exact same as March 2020.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like right before they decided to implement the lockdown and all that.
Yeah.
That's where we are right now. I don't right at that point before.
I don't necessarily think we get to that point because
people aren't going for it this time.
No, they won't.
And the government understands that.
The problem is though that if the government chooses to shut down schools, or if there's a health crisis among our children,
right,
then everything will lock back down. And so I'll call it the next 4 weeks are critical with schools going back. Like, what are the cases in terms of kids? What is the severity?
Kids passing it to their parents.
I'm less concerned about kids passing it, but what's the severity to kids? Because if you start seeing kids die from this shit because either they can't get vaccinated or it ends up being more harmful to youth than maybe the last variant was.
Right.
That's where you will see things fuck up. That's where you will see shit shut down because the government can't have the message of we're sending our kids to school to die. And I mean, we're already kind of there with active shooter drills and everything else, but if you see numbers spike in children, that if you see mortality numbers or severe hospitalization numbers go up with youth, that is what will lock us back down. And what'll happen is they will send everything back to virtual schooling because all schools now have a plan for virtual. Right. And what happens when you have virtual schooling? The parents can't leave the house to go to work.
Right.
So that's the only way we end up back there. And I hope it doesn't happen, obviously. I would hate to see, this be an effect on kids and all that. But that will be the one thing that'll put us back in the lockdown. Without that, there's no fucking way we could lock back down.
You think that we had this same issue in 1919? Because you got to think, in the flu in 1918, that was back when everything was still operating on an industrial level. So a lot of those jobs we can't do from home. You have to be in the factory doing this shit.
Right.
So I would imagine that the flu vaccination surged at that point.
Right.
And I wouldn't doubt that the government didn't try to make it mandatory for some at some point.
Right.
And we trickled off into a get it once a year if you feel worried about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's at that point, it's personal choice. And, as someone who typically doesn't get sick, like I can count in the last, I'll call it 10 years. I could probably count on one hand the number of times I actually acknowledged that I was sick. Meaning down for the count sick. I had to sleep for 12 hours. And that's my thing. When I do get like that, I know that the cure is I call it a hard reset.
Right.
I sleep for a day.
I'll pop a couple Tylenol PMs and just thug it out.
Right. I'm with you. At that point, that full, I'll call it at least 12 hours, but sometimes it can go as long as almost 24. If I'm able to do that, I've never hit a point where I didn't feel better after that.
Right.
And it's just giving your body a chance to basically reset itself, a hard reboot, like you do with the computer when it starts fucking up. Like sometimes you got to hold that power button for 10 seconds and turn the shit all the way off.
I'm shutting this motherfucker down. I'm not even asking the computer. Right. I'm shutting you down.
It's over.
Do you hear me? I mean, I just feel like judging how we're acting in this situation, it leads me to believe that situation could have been worse, because the fact that there was no structure for work from home or school from home. So people had to either go broke or go in and risk catching the shit.
Right.
So I'm sure everybody was like, oh, you didn't get your vaccine. Ah. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the same way they're doing now. When now it's like, okay, so science is developed, number one, right? Yeah. The ability for me to stay out your fucking face has definitely come a long way for two. So at this point, it's nothing but, like we said, just another thing to throw out there that, you know, people will get up in arms on and stand on either side of a line.
Yeah. Agreed.
But it's not like either way, it doesn't, like, I just don't see how it fucking matters. I don't see how it matters. We talked about this more than a year ago. And we knew that the virus was going to mutate, as all viruses do.
And the thing is we will get through Delta, and then things will probably quiet down for about 6 to 7 years, and then we will have something that is worse than what COVID originally was.
Right. I mean, it was in that book.
Yeah.
It was in that book. Shit, if you read that New World Order book, it's a lot of other shit that's supposed to be coming after this.
Right. Well, I mean, there's always been predictions and prophecies and those kind of things, but I do think that there is. I mean, even the one that we talked about, even the one that we talked about in the 2020s, like, I do think most of that will come to pass.
I don't think it's prediction.
No.
I don't think that any of it is prediction. I think when you got a bunch of little dick motherfuckers that got enough money to take a dick to the edge of the atmosphere, then you got a lot of motherfuckers that can afford to change the timeline of how things play out. Right. Come to pass. And I think a lot of it is
aliens.
Listen, I don't. It could be, it really could be, because that would be the smartest thing to do. As you said, the Reapers were the thing that came to stop conflict and make sure shit didn't happen. But even smarter than that would be something to just wipe it all out.
Right.
Let's hit the world reset button.
No, and I mean, there's plenty of movies honestly, that's what The Happening was, right? Basically, right. Planet Earth decided that humans were no longer viable for it. And so plants wiped humanity off the face of the earth.
That shit crazy, man. That shit crazy. That was a weird one. Yeah, you dropped that one, M. Night.
Right.
He dropped that one. It could have been better.
The REITs chiming in with there were no flu vaccines in 1919, so it wasn't a thing. All right, Mom. When was the first flu vaccine?
Right, that's a good question.
Or flu shot. We'll see. I think she may be 10 minutes.
Listen, if there was a flu, there was a flu vaccine. I guarantee you that. Now the question is when they released it.
I mean, I don't think, to her point, I think vaccines weren't really a thing until the 40s or 50s.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. You got to remember, man, what's interesting is that, again, the last 100 years have been so fast in terms of development, technology, compared to the rest of human civilization.
Right.
We are at a point where we are advancing so fast, and that's honestly, we've talked about it in terms of frequencies and vibrations and that kind of thing. Like, there are people who aren't, and I deal with this shit at work because I work in a technology environment where,
right,
if you can't keep up with change, you're going to be miserable.
Right.
And so, if that is happening at a critical mass level, that's what you're seeing in rural America. That's what you're seeing in poorer nations, is that they can't keep up. And so what happens when you can't keep up and you feel yourself farther and farther behind? It's conflict. Because you can't understand. You hit that cognitive dissonance where you can't keep up, and so the world is wrong. And again, not everybody is made for this world.
No, I mean, that is the truth.
That's brutal. That's cold.
That's the
reality.
truth.
Like, if you can't adapt to change, you die. And whether it's a physical death, a mental death, an emotional, like, if you can't adapt to change, then you fail. Because that's the name of the game right now.
Well, see, I mean, even beyond adapting to change, see, that's what, even beyond adapting to change, right? I more so think of it as, what do you bring to the table?
Yeah.
You don't have to adapt to change.
Well, and I mean, we've talked about that in terms of, all right, this will get too personal. We've talked about that in terms of relationships. You and I in particular have talked about not necessarily traditional roles, but it goes back to the hunters versus gatherers. It goes back to, like, either you are willing to fight and make things better for yourself, or you're going to wait for someone to do it for you. And guess what? Maybe that never happens.
I mean, there's a possibility. There's definitely a possibility, but like, that's, I always view it as that, right? It's, what do you bring to the table? Like, you don't have to necessarily adapt to the current, but who's the guy that cleans the bathrooms and the windows?
Yep.
They're bringing something to the table to where we can't afford to get rid of them, though.
Well, I mean, who was classified as essential workers?
All the motherfuckers that had jobs that nobody wanted.
Right. All the factories, all the retail, or the grocery clerks, like, and that tells you that, one, those people need to be able to make a living wage if they're essential. Because we're not to the point where robots are doing all that shit yet. Now, we may get there, and then you're going to see a lot of unhappy people. And what I think you're going to see more poor. That's what I'm saying. You're going to see people who are more poor, and you're going to see people get more desperate. And as people get more desperate, what's going to happen? That's when you see conflict. That's when you see governments overthrown. That's where, and honestly, I do feel that we can argue about January 6th. But that's what that was. It was desperation. And I feel for those people in the sense that they felt that they had gotten to a point where they felt like that was the only option. And I don't agree with their reasons. I don't agree with what they thought. But, like, at the end of the day, you will see more things happen like that as this rise of automation, the rise of the machines begins to happen. Because, to your exact point, what it will do is create a bigger wealth gap. It will be, and it's always been that way. Especially, I mean, in a capitalistic society, the people who own the means of the production are the ones that thrive.
Right.
And if you are on the other end of that, you suffer. And as you see the rise of automation, and you're already starting to see it, like, they've already started doing this in, like, the McDonald's of the world, the Wendy's of the world. There's a lot of places like that where you don't have a cashier. You go in, you press an iPad, you order your stuff, and someone brings it to you.
Shit, the DMV starting that.
Right. Because today, you still need that person to actually cook the food and bring it to you.
Right.
That's not going to last.
Right.
And then what happens to those people who are essential workers right now? What happens to them when they're replaced? And
there's not enough government assistance to cover everybody. So what happens is you start taking advantage of the people whose instincts have fallen.
I agree. And that's also where you will see that is the proletariat rise. That is the
what now? Speak English for me.
That is the rise of the poor, because the poor will always outnumber the rich. And when you see that rise up, that's when things happen. That's when you have massive conflicts. And what happens is that level of anger about being basically displaced and being like, when the poor reach a critical mass is when you will see change. Or when you see the majority of people that are suffering versus thriving, right, that's when you see change. And at that point, can you get to the point where can you do something like Andrew Yang and the universal income before you get to that point?
Right.
Otherwise, it will happen by force, and then you don't know what you're going to end up with.
Right. But with that being said, that's why, if I'm being honest, I respect the fuck out of the motherfuckers that did that shit on January 6th.
I mean, I get it.
I respect the fuck out of them, because it's not like everybody else hasn't felt that same way.
And they actually did
the
something
longest.
About it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I respect the fuck out of the motherfuckers from January 6th. I'm not the guy that's gonna be like you, extreme rights or anti-vaxxers, or nah, G. Them is just motherfuckers who felt like you're not gonna keep stepping on me. And that's the nature. Those are your animal instincts right there.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the government is currently trying to suppress.
I disagree with the ideology. Doesn't mean I disagree with the action.
I don't disagree with the ideology. We didn't get here from not overthrowing or standing up when shit seemed fucked up.
So maybe I said it the wrong way. Maybe it's that I don't agree with what got them there. I agree with the ideology that it was time to rise up.
Right. No, okay. That's
what I mean?
A great way to put it.
I don't agree with the QAnon shit, but I can respect you're not going to step on us anymore.
I don't know the QAnon shit. And let's be honest, I don't need to invest into the pizza gates and all that to know children are getting snatched.
Yeah.
I don't need to invest into the QAnon shit to see that there are internment camps that are being run currently in our nation. Yeah. When you look at all of the evidence, it leads you to believe it's that quote. At first they came for the Jews, but you know what I mean? Right. It's that quote, right? So you're just sitting there watching all this bullshit happen to the people around you, and you're getting that animal instinct that something's not right. And it's only a matter of time before people could be coming for you. But what you do is you suppress it because you think, oh, the government has my best interest at heart. I'll go get vaccinated. I'll wear a mask. I'll stay in the house. I'll do all that. But at what point do you say, well, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on outside while I'm stuck in here?
Right.
And that's what's not making sense, where it's like, okay, now I'd be a lot more comfortable staying in the house if I knew that you had shit covered out here.
Right.
But you don't. By design. So you expect me to leave everything else out here to go awry when this is my life?
If our government wanted to eradicate certain things, they could.
Period. And the fact that you don't leads me to believe that you're not fit to continue your job.
You're either not fit or you're in on it. It's one of those two things.
Either way, it's unacceptable. So you need to be taken out either by force or by legislation. Yeah. But the issue is it would never be by legislation.
Because we run a two-party system where you can't get to anything worthwhile.
So the only option is by force.
Right. No,
but I mean, see, the issue is we don't have enough, like you said, wolves and sheepdogs. See, we're at a point right now in society where we can't even afford to put down our wolves.
Right.
We just got to hope you stand with us and don't bite us when we're not
Well, no. What it is it's what do sheep do to protect themselves? They huddle. And the weak ones are on the outside, and those are the ones that get snatched.
I mean, but that's what's happening, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And it's the same point you're making around it is the ones that people don't care about are the ones where that is happening. And I don't mean they're not cared about individually as humans. I mean the ones that are weak and vulnerable are the ones that get picked off.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And I mean, listen, I know a lot of motherfuckers that ask me all the time, like, when did you become so militant? Or what, you know, like, it's not even that, you know what I mean? Like, when you think about it, like, let's be honest, some of it was by choice, me putting myself into situations. But when I think about my past, a lot of it was I didn't have the luxury of knowing there weren't threats around at all times.
Right.
I didn't have the luxury of knowing I could walk out of my house comfortably with my head down in a phone and not make it to my next destination.
No, and I mean, from that perspective, I'm with you. Like, I've had enough shit happen in my life, whether it was getting jumped coming off the Coda bus or my dad passing away or any number of other traumatic incidents.
Right.
Like, my guard is always up. And honestly, that was part of my issue with moving to Bexley, was that I felt I could put my guard down, and I imploded as part of it. Like,
right.
So,
and listen.
And why I'm glad to be going back to the hood.
I know you are. And I don't, and you know, as me, the guy that loves you so very much.
I know you do.
Definitely.
I never wanted to leave that house in the first place. There's a reason why we held on to it.
And that's what I was about to say. I remember we had a conversation before you moved. And I said, is that of all places where you see yourself being? Like yourself being? And I feel like a lot of that was, if I'm being honest, a sacrifice of yourself for the betterment of your family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's not to say that the family hasn't done well here. I have not.
Right.
I have not.
Right.
And it is what it is.
And then let's keep it a buck, right? Let's keep it a buck, regardless of how it makes anybody feel. Do you want your son exclusively raised in Bexley?
Hell fucking no. And I said that from jump.
That's all I'm saying.
Jump. No, because I want to raise a sheepdog, not a sheep.
Listen. And as we both know from...
Well, and actually, I will take this to another place, and I mean this with the utmost respect. Like, my soon-to-be ex-wife is a wonderful mother. She is fantastic.
Love her.
She has also prevented me from parenting my child the way that I want to parent.
Right.
And so I think us both being able to parent in the way we want to is actually going to be better for him in the long run.
Right.
Because he will understand discipline. He will understand, like, you don't talk back. Like,
the balance.
And there is a balance there. And it's not, yeah. And I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to get into other shit. But that is, at the end of the day, I think while this situation in and of itself sucks, and honestly though, like, if everyone's being honest in the situation, we have had moments of happiness, but all of our moments of happiness have surrounded Andrew, have surrounded our child. She and I together have not been happy for years.
Right.
And you and I have talked about reasons why, and I will acknowledge that I did things that hurt her.
Right.
But no one was happy.
Right.
At least not as a husband and wife.
We
both had needs that weren't met. We both had feelings that were hurt. We both had X, Y, and Z. And at the end of the day, this will be better for everyone because I think it'll allow, I won't speak for her. It will allow me to become a better person. It will allow me to. I think it's already pushing me towards being a better version of myself.
Right.
So it is what it is. And you know, my problem is I never wanted to hurt anyone, and I shouldered everything myself. And
well, let me ask you something, and not to get all, I know mind and body until Sunday.
Saturday,
but
it's tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, you do it. Oh, you record Saturday, put it out Sunday?
It depends on the day, or it depends what I've got going on, but yeah.
Okay. But how many times have you really, in life, in general, how many times have you really focused on the betterment of yourself and yourself alone? And I don't mean from a greed standpoint. I just mean from a standpoint of no one else influencing you to be better.
It was losing the job. It was losing the job in Pittsburgh and moving back here. Honestly, it was that about 4 years. It was that 4 years between when I moved back and when I got into what would become my marriage, the relationship that would become my marriage.
And you know what? It's interesting that you say that, right?
I mean, outside of that, like, it was while I played football, right? Like, that was all about the betterment of myself, and to prove myself and all that shit. But it's outside of sports.
It's interesting that you say that. Once again, for anybody listening, I want to preface again by saying I didn't mean that from a selfish standpoint.
Yeah.
I just meant motivated to better yourself without saying I got to do better for her X. Or for him or for us. So what I'm saying is, if that was the case, right? And it was when you lost the job in Pittsburgh and moved back here, think of how many people you advertently and inadvertently helped in that situation. Yeah. I can think of a handful off the top of my head that you helped advertently
by making myself better. Well, with regards to that, like, it's funny you say that, just because that's also when I was happiest coaching. Like, was that first 4 or 5 years.
I'm sorry, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
And I think that's when I had the most positive influence on those kids.
And that's what I'm getting at, right? Because they always say, like how they said at the start of COVID, you always put your mask on yourself before you put your mask on your child.
Right.
Because if something happens to you, then something happens to both of you.
Right.
And I think that people, especially in this whole PC culture that we're in right now, lose track of themselves and try to be so artificially selfless.
Yes.
That you're not helping anyone.
Right.
You're not helping anyone because we see where your help is coming from. Right? We can see that you can't afford to help me. You're not in a position. You need to help yourself. First, and for you helping me, I feel bad for receiving, because I feel like you need this for you more than I need this for me. Right? So at some point,
you just summed everything up for me. Like,
right. So at some point, you got to step back and say, you know what? My mask is under my chin. I'm making sure everybody else is tucked in. Let me tuck my own shit in.
Yeah.
And then inadvertently, you end up helping so many more people.
Yeah.
Because just that hello means more.
Yeah.
Because we see that's coming from that person is vibrating right now.
Right. No.
But when you smile and you put that fake shit on while we know you're hurt on the inside, yeah, real people feel that.
Well, and honestly,
and we're like,
yeah, that's what led to a lot of the, and I mean, I've been public about this. That's what led to a lot of the self-medicating and over-drinking. Like, I felt like I always had to have my guard up, and meaning was always worried about everyone else. And so I would hit points where I'm like, you know what? This is about me tonight.
Right.
I am going to feel happy. I am going to do something that gives me joy or gives me whatever. Like,
right.
And it is what it is. Like, you know.
Well, listen, I mean, not to get too deep, but
No,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, and I say this for all my friends and family that listen to this. The hardest thing about this is obviously not seeing my son every day, but to the point, I think he will have two better parents because of this situation.
Two better parents in a more balanced situation.
Yeah. And honestly, at the same time, like, it is... I will always have nothing but love for her. I may have moments of frustration and moments of emotional overage and all of that shit, but at the end of the day, you know, it's... I don't think either one of us are bad people for what happened or how things went down.
No, not at all.
But we were not happy together.
You weren't operating at your optimum...
at the same frequencies, right? Or at optimum frequencies. Our frequencies had been so reduced and so lowered on both sides.
Y'all ain't got the connection.
Right. And that's where we're at. And so,
I mean,
again, it's all, like I said, it's nothing but love. I also believe that, you know, like I've said repeatedly, I think she and I both will be better versions of ourselves because of this. So,
well, all I will say is this, and this is the last thing, the at least deep thing that I'll say, and I don't even mean to be deep because I know that we've said this before in the past.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, the cliche thing, everything happens for a reason. But beyond that, motherfuckers have to understand that in those times of reset, in a sense, that is a new chapter.
That's when you make the most growth.
Right. That's a new chapter, right? And beyond growth, right? You can't block your blessings being down on yourself.
No doubt. And so that is something that I'll say, because I'm sure a lot of the same people that reached out do listen to this. I wanted to say thank you. Positive messages and words of encouragement and support. Like, it is meant the world. And I don't know if it was intentional or subconscious or just the nature of starting a family. I have isolated myself. And I don't know why. I don't know why or how it happened other than, you know, focusing on the family, right? This will allow me to reconnect, period. Because right now, like, I have felt so disconnected from everyone throughout.
I can tell you why.
Yeah.
I can tell you why and how.
Uh-oh.
Listen, and I'm gonna break it down
nothing too inflammatory, please.
No, not at all. No, and it doesn't have anything to do with anyone specifically, right? It's the simple fact that you used an analogy why you can't release an animal from the zoo because they lose themselves. They forget how to hunt, how to be wild, how to do right. So
fend for themselves.
But think about right, taking that animal from the wild and putting them in the zoo. That animal isn't themselves.
Yeah.
You usually see that animal stop eating, mope around. They're not as active as they usually are.
Or they're overly aggressive.
One of the two, right?
Right.
And if I'm being honest, I feel like you took the better of the two options, because when you take somebody like you and you put them in that current box you're in,
yeah,
I can't
be me and exist in this place.
Yeah, it's just not. And you, that's the reason why we had that conversation, is because you knew that from our elementary and middle school situation.
Right.
But yet you still chose to put your hand back on the stove.
You're not wrong.
And that's where I was like, when we had that conversation, I was like, are you sure that's what you're thinking you want to do?
Well,
because
and again, there's a reason why this house or 564 didn't get sold.
And you know what? It's funny, right? Because Char's not from here.
No.
So Char doesn't understand.
This is the suburban life that she has painted in her picture that she wanted. And I respect that. That's just
I respect it
me.
as well.
I never wanted that.
But see, but you can find a happy medium.
Yeah. There are places where you can.
Bexley is not that.
No.
Bexley is the extreme of all
It is
suburbs.
basically yes, I agree with that.
Everybody in Bexley has a long lineage in Bexley.
Yeah.
Their parents lived there. Their grandparents probably lived there.
Yeah.
And now they live there as well.
And that $500,000 home got passed from generation to generation.
There's a reason why Bexley has everything they need right in that little
Bexley.
bubble.
Right in that 6-block radius.
And they constantly complain about the outskirts around them. But bitch, you're on a main road.
Right.
We can't get to where the fuck we have to go without coming through there. So if your grandparents, great grandparents were a little smarter, they might have put that little suburb in a pocket off to the side.
Right. Instead of right in the middle of what has become a metropolitan area. Listen. And I mean, they kind of tried, right? You've got the Nelson Bridge or whatever, and I'm sure before there were roadways through that where the train tracks run over, I'm sure it was more isolated.
I bet. But I say that to say,
like Route 40. I bet you it was only Main Street and only Broad Street that would cut through there.
Probably, huh?
Yeah.
But I say that to say, putting somebody like you in a situation like that, and then you don't know, and I don't mean to be all soft and PC how we are now, but you don't know what traumatic experiences stayed with you from elementary and middle.
Oh yeah.
That could bubble up unknowingly in you just from being there.
Let's face it.
And I'm sorry, wait. I'm sorry. Keep your thought. But I said Char's name, and I don't want her to get anything wrong. What I was getting at when I said Char's not from here is that Char doesn't understand that dynamic.
Yeah.
Char just thinks she's in a suburb right now.
Yeah.
But you don't understand that you're actually in the get out neighborhood, right?
Right.
You're in the neighborhood where it's like, yeah, it's not just a suburb, it's a little creepier than that.
Right. Well, and to be fair to her, like, I think she recognizes some of the issues that Bexley does have, and she also works to, like, she is part of, groups and committees and those kind of things that are designed to help make that better. But you're absolutely right. Like, from jump, getting closer to that area, both middle school and high school, I was always isolated. And that may have been my own self-defense mechanism. And so I'm not saying that I was ever like singled out, but
that's what I say about the traumas.
I didn't have, like, outside of the friends that I brought with me, or rather that were there that I went to, meaning you, Shelby, Gordon, like, I still don't have very many friends from high school or from middle school. And there's a reason for that, because to your point, when you come up in communities like that, they are there from birth. And so if you are the outsider coming in, you're never going to be accepted in the same way. And
listen, it's all right.
And that's not to say, so I have had people from SC reach out to me over this whole situation, and I appreciate them too. But what I'm saying is, generally speaking, but you know who they are, or what I have in common with them? Guess. I'll give you a hint. I was there tonight. It's football.
Okay.
The only people that I've ever
had,
you
got black in you.
The only people I've ever had great relationships with from those places are people that respected what I could do in sports. It was the football, it was track, like those are the people that I have maintained any contact with. Period.
That makes perfect fucking sense. But I was about to say, before I say what I was going to say, it's all right, don't feel bad. I got congratulators, like Miss Pat likes to say.
Gotcha.
I got people that like to say they were friends with Cliff till Cliff needs something from you.
Yep.
Not needs anything, you know what I mean? Maybe just a like or a motherfucking subscribe. How about that? But it's always been that way, right? It's been the motherfucker that it's and it's hard to even say without motherfuckers knowing. I'm not gonna say that, but it's the I'm not gonna say that either.
All right.
I'm just gonna say it's the motherfuckers that sit back and clap for you, secretly wanting what you got.
Either wanting what you got or waiting for you to fail.
Right. And
I'm sure I've got plenty of those right now too.
Oh no, I got more of those than you think. I got more of those than you think. But at the same time, let me be 100. Like, I was put into a lot of situations I didn't want to be put into in the past.
Yeah.
Whether they be schools that I went to or stayed too long or whatever the case may be. So if I'm being completely honest, I don't like a lot of those people just because I wasn't fond of you like that back then, and you remind me of back then.
Yeah. Well,
so there's no point in me even talking to you.
Honestly,
so I guess I deserve you not liking it.
I mean, it goes back to the whole caged animal thing, and it's the same situation. Like, the ones that you're locked up with aren't necessarily the ones you want to see when you get out, because it reminds you where that was.
Right.
All right, man. Hey, I am way beyond. I had texted you and said, let's just do an hour tonight. We almost got to the full length.
You? I didn't get that.
Nah, it's all good. But
well, you know me, I just, you know.
We roll with it. So, as Cliff said, like, share, subscribe, download the podcast, rate, all that fun shit. You got anything to take us out, my man?
I do. I got the perfect thing to take us out. I will say I'll keep it short and sweet. And for anyone that has questions, ask on next week's show. But anxiety is nothing but the monster under the bed. And Fred Savage proved to us it's not that bad. You feel me? It's not that, even if you end up coming face to face with that monster under the bed, it's usually never what you expected it to be.
It's never as bad as you think it's going to be.
Period.
I can get
so let's all start those next chapters and let's not be fearful moving into them.
Amen. And with that, cheers. And with that, this has been Do Fools Agree. Peace out, fools.
Love everybody.
Love everybody.